Every hotel has a room they don't put on the map. Not because they forgot, because some doors once opened have a way of staying open. And some rooms once entered have a way of keeping what they find. Check in, get comfortable. You won't be leaving for a while. This is a hollow hour. And tonight we go to room 0. Daniel Marsh was the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. He was 43 years old, a mid-level project manager for a construction firm whose name he sometimes forgot when people asked him where he worked. He had been attending the same annual industry conference in the same Birmingham hotel for 11 consecutive years. He knew the route from the car park to his room without looking up. He knew the breakfast menu by heart. He knew which elevator had the slow doors and which ice machine on which floor was actually reliable. He was, in every measurable way, a man who had stopped noticing the world around him. His wife, Sarah, had told him this. Not cruelly. Sarah was never cruel. She'd said it the way you say something you've been holding carefully for too long, with the particular gentleness of someone who is also quietly saying goodbye. That had been 4 months ago. He was staying in room 412. He always stayed in room 412. He had requested it specifically when he booked because at this point it felt less like a hotel room and more like a holding pen he was vaguely familiar with. He checked in on a Thursday night at 11:15. The lobby was nearly empty. The receptionist, a young man with the hollow eyes of someone 3 hours from the end of a long shift, handed him his key card without making eye contact. "Enjoy your stay, Mr. Marsh," he said. Daniel took the key card. "Same as always," he said. He didn't mean it as anything other than the words it was. But something about saying it in that empty lobby, under those flat white lights, with the rain pressing against the glass behind him, something about those 3 words landed heavily in his chest. Same as always. He stood at the elevator and waited. The doors opened. He stepped inside. He pressed 4, and the elevator went down. He noticed it immediately, but his brain, that tired, checked out, same as always brain, took a moment to process what it was seeing. The numbers above the elevator doors were counting down. Not up. 4, 3, 2, 1. He pressed 4 again. Nothing. He pressed the door open button. Nothing. He pressed the lobby button. The light came on, but the elevator continued its descent, smooth and unhurried, as if it had somewhere specific to be. The number display read 0. Daniel had been in this hotel 11 years. There was no basement. There was no floor below the lobby. He had never had cause to think about this before because it had never been relevant. It was very relevant now. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Beyond them was a corridor. It looked, at first glance, exactly like the corridors on every other floor of the hotel. Same carpet. That particular shade of burgundy the hotels favor because it hides the stains. Same wall sconces casting that particular amber light. Same numbered doors stretching away in both directions. Except the corridor was wrong in ways that took a moment to identify. The carpet was newer. The pattern was slightly different. The same burgundy, but a design he didn't recognize from any other floor. The wall sconces were the same shape, but the bulbs were a warmer color, almost like candlelight. And the doors were different. On every other floor, the rooms were numbered in the 400s. 412, 413, 414. On this floor, the doors had no numbers at all. Every single door was blank, except for one. One door, perhaps 20 feet down the corridor on the left side, had a number on it. The number was 0. Daniel stood in the elevator doorway for a long moment. He pressed the lobby button again. The elevator gave a soft, almost apologetic chime, and the doors began to close. He stepped forward without fully deciding to. The doors closed behind him. The elevator went up. He was alone in the corridor. He stood very still and listened. From behind the door marked 0, very faintly, he could hear the sound of a television and a woman laughing. He recognized the laugh. He had not heard it in 4 months. It was Sarah's laugh. He told himself it wasn't her. Of course it wasn't her. His mind was doing what tired, grief-hollowed minds do. taking a sound and filling it with what it wanted most. The laugh had probably been from a television in an adjacent room bleeding through thin walls. It was probably nothing. He knocked anyway. 3 times. The television sound stopped. A pause. Then footsteps. Light ones. Quick. The footsteps of someone coming to answer a door they were expecting to knock. The door opened. It was not Sarah. It was a woman he didn't recognize. Mid-40s, dark hair cut short. She was wearing a hotel bathrobe and holding a glass of red wine, and she looked at him with the comfortable, unsurprised expression of someone opening a door to a person they know. "You're late," she said. "I sorry," Daniel said. She tilted her head, looked at him more carefully. Something shifted in her expression, not alarm, not confusion. Something more like careful recalibration. "Come in," she said. "You look exhausted." He should have said he had the wrong room. He should have apologized and found the elevator and gone to bed and chalked the whole thing up to exhaustion and a faulty lift mechanism. He stepped inside. The room was wrong. Not in a frightening way, not at first, in a baffling way. In the way of a dream where things are almost right, but assembled incorrectly. It was a hotel room, but it had been lived in. Not for a night or a weekend, for longer. There were books on the desk with cracked spines. A second suitcase opened on a luggage rack alongside the first. The first one was his. He recognized it immediately. The black Samsonite with the blue luggage tag Sarah had bought him 6 Christmases ago. But the second suitcase was not his. On the bedside table on the left side, his side, always his side, was his phone charger, his water bottle, his reading glasses. On the bedside table on the right side were a woman's things. A book, a half-empty glass, a tube of hand cream. On the small table near the window were the remains of a room service dinner for 2. The woman, this stranger in his bathrobe, in his hotel room, beside his suitcase, sat back down on a bed and picked up her wine and watched him look around the room with an expression he couldn't read. "You've been standing in the corridor again," she said. It wasn't a question. "I don't," Daniel started. "You do this every year," she said. "You come to this conference, and you spend 10 minutes standing in the corridor before you come in. I've stopped asking why." She took a sip of wine. "There's a glass for you," she said. "Come to bed. You look like you've seen a ghost." Daniel sat down in the chair by the window. He looked at the room service tray. 2 plates. One had been cleared. One had barely been touched. His order. He recognized it. The same thing he always ordered when he stayed here. Chicken. Mashed potato. No sauce. He had not ordered room service tonight. He had checked in 11 minutes ago. He looked at the woman on the bed. "Who are you?" he asked. She looked at him for a long moment. "Daniel," she said quietly. "You're doing again." "Doing what?" She set down her wine. "Forgetting," she said, and something in the way she said it. Not with frustration, not with cruelty, but with the deep, patient sadness of someone who has said the same thing many times before and expects to say it many times again, made Daniel's throat close completely. Because he had heard that tone before. Sarah had used that exact tone in their last real conversation. When she had told him he had stopped noticing the world around him. When she had told him, gently and finally, goodbye. He didn't sleep. The woman. She told him her name was Anna, told him they had been together 9 years, told him they attended this conference together every year, told her with the calm certainty of someone reciting facts, so well established they had ceased to feel like facts and become simply the shape of the world. Anna fell asleep with the ease of someone with a clear conscience and no particular dread. Daniel sat in a chair by the window and watched the dark city outside. He did not feel afraid. That was the strangest part. He felt something else entirely, something that took him a long time to name, and when he named it, he sat with the word for a very long time. He felt recognized. At 3 a.m, he picked up his phone from the bedside table. It was his phone. Same cracked corner on the screen from when he dropped in the Tesco car park 2 months ago. Same lock screen. Same password. But when he opened the photos, they were different. Not entirely. The older photographs were the same, his parents, his childhood home, the years before. But from roughly 9 years ago, the photographs diverged from the life he remembered. No Sarah. Instead, photo after photo, year after year, Anna. At restaurants and airports and Christmas mornings, and one particular photograph on a beach somewhere warm where they were both laughing at something outside the frame. And he looked like someone who had not stopped noticing the world around him. He looked the way he used to look before the tiredness that sleep couldn't fix had settled into his bones. He put the phone down. He went to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. He looked older than he expected. Not badly, just more weathered. Like a man who had been outside more, who had walked in more rain and more sun and more cold. There were photographs tucked into the frame of the mirror, 3 of them, the kind you print and keep. One was of him and Anna on that warm beach. One was of a dog he didn't recognize but felt, looking at it, an immediate and inexplicable grief that told him the dog was gone now. The third photograph was of him standing outside a house. Not the house he lived in now, not the semi-detached in Coventry he had shared with Sarah for 12 years and now rattled around alone in 4 months' company. A different house, bigger, stone walls, a garden that was clearly loved. And he was standing outside it with the expression of a man who has just been handed the keys. Written on the back of the photograph in handwriting, he recognized as his own were 4 words. We finally did it. Daniel put the photograph back in the mirror frame. He sat on the edge of the bath. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, he put his face in his hands and cried. Not from fear. From something much harder to explain. From grief for a life he hadn't lived. From the unbearable specific weight of seeing exactly what he had missed. From a particular cruelty of a room that showed you, with perfect loving detail, not what you had lost, but what you had never found. He was still sitting on the edge of the bath when the light under the bathroom door changed. Dawn, coming in through the curtains he hadn't fully closed. Gray and slow and indifferent the way only very early morning light can be. He heard Anna stir in the bedroom. The particular sound of a person waking comfortably without alarm or dread. The sound of someone who expects the day to be fine. He stood up. He looked at himself in the mirror one more time. He looked at the 3 photographs. He thought about the life in his phone, the 9 years of divergence, the beach, the dog, the stone house with the garden. He thought about room 412 upstairs, his real room, his actual life, the conference he would attend in 5 hours, the colleagues who would make the same jokes they made every year. The drive home on Friday to the semi-detached in Coventry that no longer felt like a home because the person who had made it one was gone. He thought about what Anna had said. You're doing it again. Forgetting. He opened the bathroom door. Anna was sitting up in bed. She looked at him, this careful, recalibrating look she had, and then she smiled. Not Sarah's smile, her own smile, warm and specific, and aimed entirely at him. Come back to bed, she said. It's early. Daniel stood in the bathroom doorway. He looked at his suitcase on the luggage rack. His suitcase, next to hers. He looked at his phone on the bedside table, his charger, his water bottle, his glasses. He looked at the door to the corridor. He looked at Anna. He crossed the room. He picked up his suitcase. He picked up his phone and his charger and his glasses and his water bottle, and he put them all in his pockets and under his arm, and he stood at the door with his hand on the handle and his back to the room. Daniel, Anna said behind him. Her voice was very quiet. You always leave, she said. Every year, you always choose the elevator. A pause. I keep hoping, she said, that one year you won't. He opened the door. The corridor was there, empty and burgundy carpeted, and exactly as it had been. He walked to the elevator. He pressed a button. The doors opened immediately, as if they had been waiting. He stepped inside. He pressed 4. The elevator went up. The doors opened on the 4th floor corridor. He walked to room 412. He let himself in. The room was exactly as he'd left it, untouched. His suitcase was not on the luggage rack. He looked down. He was carrying his suitcase. He put it down. He sat on the edge of the bed. He sat there for a very long time, and then he picked up his phone. Now to check the photos. He couldn't face that yet. He opened his contacts. He found Sarah's name. He looked at it for a long time. He put the phone face down on the bed. He lay down. He stared at the ceiling. And for the first time in 4 months, for the first time since the tiredness that sleep couldn't fix had moved into his chest like a permanent tenant, he fell asleep almost immediately. He dreamed of a stone house, a garden that was loved, a dog whose name he somehow knew, and a woman whose face in the dream he could not quite see, but whose laugh he recognized. He had always recognized it. He just kept choosing the elevator. Daniel Marsh attended the conference. He sat through the presentations and the networking lunches and the panel discussions, and he made the same small talk he had made for 11 years, and nobody noticed that he was different. He checked out on Friday morning. At the reception desk, he paused. "Can I ask you something?" he said to the receptionist. A different one from the night before, daytime staff, a woman with practical ponytail who smiled efficiently. "Of course," she said. "Is there a basement level in this hotel?" She looked at him pleasantly. "No," she said. "We go from lobby to 4th floor. No basement." "Right," Daniel said. "And is there a floor 0? A sublevel of any kind?" She typed something. "No," she said. "Nothing like that." She smiled. "Is everything all right with your stay?" "Fine," Daniel said. "Same as always." He walked to his car. He drove home to Coventry. He pulled into the driveway of the semi-detached and sat in the car for a while. Then he got out. He walked to the front door. He did not go inside immediately. He stood on the step for a long time. He took out his phone. He opened his contacts. He found Sarah's name. He pressed call. It rang 3 times. She answered. "Daniel," she said, surprised, careful. He opened his mouth. He closed it. He tried again. "I've been doing it wrong," he said. "All of it. I know it might be too late. I know I don't have the right to." He stopped. "I just needed you to know," he said. "That I know, that I finally noticed." Silence on the line. A long silence. The particular silence of someone deciding something. "Okay," Sarah said finally. "Just that. Okay." Daniel sat down on his own front step in the cold morning air and looked at the garden he had stopped tending 2 years ago. He thought about a stone house. He thought about a garden that was loved. He thought about room 0 and what it had shown him and what it had cost and whether the cost had been worth it. He decided that it had. He decided that some rooms, however they find you, show you exactly what you need to see, even if seeing it breaks you open first. 2 floors below a Birmingham hotel, in a corridor with no numbers on its doors, room 0 sat quiet and dark and waiting. The bed was made. The wine glasses were washed. The room service tray was gone. On the right side bedside table, a book lay closed. A bookmark placed carefully at page 1, ready for the next guest, already waiting for whoever the elevator brings next. Whoever needs to see what they've been missing. Whoever is ready, finally, quietly, devastatingly, to notice. Room 0 isn't in any hotel directory. But if you've ever been kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix, if you've ever stood at a door and chosen the elevator instead, you already know it exists. You've felt its corridor. You just haven't gone all the way down yet. This has been the Hollow Hour. Sleep well. And when the elevator doors open, check which direction the numbers are going.